Okay. Hi, guys.
Hey guys,
How are you? Welcome back.
here we are in the car again.
Yeah.
It's that time of year when you can get out and about, and it's so beautiful here. I said that last video, but it is. It's very, very beautiful here.
It really
A lot of
is.
rain. Everything's green like crazy.
Yeah. For here in Colorado, this is nutty green. There's some downsides that come with it too that I'm not a fan of, and that's mosquitoes.
Yeah.
But wildflowers are popping up all over the place, and it's very, very green.
Yep.
And it happens to be also a sunny day. The other thing with all the rain and moisture is we're getting a lot of clouds, so we don't have the amount of starlight that we're accustomed to here too, which I miss. That's something that I personally
Yep.
really, really enjoy, is having starlight and seeing stars at night too. And so when I say starlight, I'm talking about that big bright thing that we call the sun. It's a star.
Yeah. My brother and I, we like to deliberately address the topic of the star as the star and not the sun, because it's for me, calling it the sun, it makes it, well, calling it this, realizing that it's a star, like when you look out in the cosmos at night and you see all those points of light, that's what this is.
Yeah.
And it's fun for me to be able to call, or when I call it a star, to make, I realize, wow, that's a star. It's a star.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a close one of all those little points you see at night.
Yeah.
And it's fun to see it that way.
Yeah.
So we don't want to turn this into an astronomy class, but
No.
it's good to have that larger perspective.
So, I don't know about you guys. I bet this is probably true, and I think it probably, I'm pretty sure it's true. Listening to some other videos, I'm not going to say who it is, but from other light workers, there's a lot of talk about how hard things are right now. Everybody's, oh, I'm so tired, and I feel angry, or I'm depressed, irritable.
Yeah.
Well, you can fill in the blanks,
the
right?
list goes on and on.
So, and it's not to say that those aren't feelings and issues that we all do have coming up. But this morning, because for me, for about the last week, it's been really, for some reason, very hard. A lot of energy. Well, the energy's coming in. It just doesn't stop, which is good. But I was very cognizant of a pattern in my own makeup that was, what would I call it? I guess maybe almost complaining a little bit.
Yeah.
That this is not fair. I'm a light worker, and I'm having to put up with all of these, all of these uncomfortable feelings, and feeling, like I said, irritable, angry, depressed, all of that.
But I'm a light worker. I shouldn't have to deal with this.
Yeah. Well, that's when you find out, or I find it, not you, I find out if I'm really a light worker, because I think if I'm really a light worker, it doesn't matter what I'm feeling,
Right.
or what my experience is. My character stays the same. I bring love and blessing, forgiveness, and there are a whole list of different spirits that are true of who we really are. And I think that being a true light worker means that we stay true to that, regardless of how we feel, because that's where the greatest opportunity is for transmutation of our consciousness. Otherwise, I think that the whole concept, because it can remain a concept of ascension, can remain a concept. It's not real unless, when crunch time hits, when the hard times come, we actually find out whether we're identified with our structures in our consciousness, our patterns, our habitual patterns that present themselves. If the only time that I'm a light worker is going to be when I feel good, or when things are just so, well, then I'm not really going to get a whole lot done for myself now. And my value to other people, or my value in human consciousness, is going to be about that, like that. What's really critical is to challenge those structures in my experience, the feeling, and it's mostly feelings.
Mostly.
Do you find that?
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, whether it's physical feelings, sensations in the body, whether it's emotional currents that are moving, or it's a combination of emotions, and then the emotions trigger thoughts, and thoughts can be stirred up out of the deep subconscious, and it's in those moments when it really comes to point. Who am I? Am I
Got some hikers over
yeah,
here.
yeah. Beautiful day
Yeah,
for it.
beautiful day.
Am I the thing being acted upon, or am I the being, the light being, incarnate in this capacity? So all this energy coming in, we can feel victimized by it if we want to, and that person, that so-called entity that is feeling victimized, is the ego. It's
That's what's going to change, by the way.
what's changing,
And
yeah.
it will. We don't have any choice.
Yeah. So there is only one identity in the whole cosmos, by the way, and we all share that. So the one identity is not in any way subject to any of these things that we're feeling. And as he was saying, it seems popular in these days to want to be identified as a light worker. And again, you know, what's your definition of a light worker? I would say a light worker, it's not an ego. It's not an ego trying to be a light worker. It's not an ego who's dealing with so much and I'm going to be a loving person in all of this. You are the being of light, and if you're the being of light, if you're identified as that being of light, and then you're doing work, and these waves of energy coming in, they've got to be grounded here. They have to be grounded in a very real and tangible way.
Not just in a conceptual.
Not just
sort of a way.
conceptual,
Yeah.
not some theory, in a grounded way, so that when the hard times come for the capacity.
I've got my seatbelt on. I was just looking at the picture here.
Hey,
It's
me
like we're
too.
afraid of
I'm
falling out of the
strapped-
car.
No, we're strapped in because we're going to bring a message here that's so intense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're about ready to lift off. right?
Yeah,
And
so
it does. Yeah.
so it's a matter of true identity, and so when these energies come in, I know for me personally, I got up this morning and my body, my emotional realm, my mind, last night was a hard night for my body. Why did it get so dark?
I don't know.
I don't understand that.
Hopefully you can still see us, but
Yeah.
something did get dark.
Something
I
got
don't
dark.
know. Is the power low on the phone?
I don't know.
Well,
We'll give it.
just
we'll
keep
just
going.
see how
This
it
isn't.
goes.
This doesn't need to be a long, drawn out sort of a message,
Yeah.
and it's not going to be really entertaining.
No. I'm not
it's
interested in entertaining.
No, this is no. Neither am I. We did that one video. Everybody really liked it.
Oh,
you
the
know,
tinfoil hat
hats
thing,
and all
yeah.
that. And it's not that like I'm against or you're against having fun and all of that, but this message for me is it's a little more serious, I guess, because I'm not pointing the finger at you. Because I'm looking at myself. Because I become disappointed with how often I fail to stay true to my real character, and I become identified with sadness, depression. I named them all, or I didn't name them
Well,
all.
no.
I named a few.
The list is extensive. I mean, identifying with the wrong character is complaining about other people,
Accusation,
or judging
blame,
other
and
people,
criticism.
condemning other people, or and that's not. And by the way, that's not saying that anything goes in this world. There is a true design to creation. It's not a potpourri of whatever.
Thank God for that.
There is a true design, and you can see things happening in the world, like, for instance, pedophilia. I'm sorry, I don't agree with it, and it's not true, okay? So I can see evidences or see it in the news somewhere of pedophilia or human trafficking or whatever it may be. Being loving and being unconditionally loving doesn't mean that I agree with that stuff.
Right.
It means unconditionally loving means I'm going to bring the truth of love, the truth of who I am, and the true character of who I am, regardless of what's going on.
Yeah.
And
And I agree with what you're talking about, because there's so much going on in human consciousness right now, where everybody wants to just, anything goes, everything's okay.
No.
You can't do anything wrong. It's like, okay, here, the fact of the matter is, we can do whatever we want, but you're going to pay the price.
right.
There could be a price to pay, and it's not going to be necessarily coming from God or Creator, or, well, yeah, actually, ultimately, that's where
You're doing it to yourself.
we're doing it to ourselves based on our function relative to how we operate within the design of Creator. And there are certain laws, there are certain immutable ways things work. For instance, gravity. We're not going to be stupid and step off a cliff and think that we're going to fly.
Right.
So there are ways that things work, and so we have to live our lives based on that, knowing that. Thinking that doesn't apply is nonsense.
So the other thing the point I'd like to make is that staying true to who we are, that's a lot of work, because you can put blinders on and pretend you don't want to see things going on in the world, but we need to be alert and awake to what's going on in the world, and we need to be informed. And when I see headlines or I see it reported of someone says pedophilia is okay, and I know it's not, it can stir up a lot of feeling in me. It can stir up reactions in my own emotional realm. So that's where the real work comes in, is can I stay in a point of radiance in the midst of that? It doesn't mean that by being unconditionally loving that I'm agreeing with that stuff. It means I'm going to stay loving and I'll be forgiving, but I'm not going to be condoning things that aren't true.
Yep.
That's the great clarification that's coming for this planet. And that's going to be something that's going to rub a lot of people the wrong way, seemingly, but it's actually okay. I mean, either you get on board with the truth or you don't.
I'll bet you a lot of you have had your stuff rubbed the wrong way already.
Yeah.
I know my stuff has been. So what you'll hear from him and me is going to be politically incorrect.
Yep.
Or incorrect, or however you put it. The last video we posted when we were in the car, we said something about don't watch the news because they're lying
liars
to you, right? And it's
They're
true.
liars.
That's
it's
true.
all liars right now.
And some of you may believe that, some of you may, or not even believe it, some of you may know it, and some of you may still believe that the news is telling the truth, but you'll find out probably in short order they're not. And so we posted that video, or we submitted it to another site. I'm not going to name who it was.
But it's a spiritually based
it's so-called, well, yeah, they say they're spiritually based, and they wouldn't post the video on their site
because we said something
about the news that they're lying to you. And so what you're going to hear from Chris and me is going to be no BS. We're going to tell you the truth. It's not going to be full of a lot of spiritual woo-woo, magical thinking. It's going to be grounded. It's going to be real. It's going to be, you want the real deal? Do you want the real information on what's going on here? We got to get real with ourselves. We have to get real with each other, but mostly with ourselves. About what's going on and what spirits I'm identified with.
Yeah.
Because there really are only certain spirits that are true to the truth.
Yeah.
And that's what we're interested in. And when we post videos, you're going to hear that. If you don't like it, shut off the video.
Yeah. Yeah. So the rubs. This is where you get to the rub. This is where it gets hard, and that is there is a true design to creation. There's a true design to Creator. It's not some just amorphous whatever. There is a true design, and whether you like it or not, whether I like it or not, my human ego likes it or not, is beside the point. Changes need to happen, and they need to happen here. And whether we like it or not, it's all going to come to point in each and every one of us. And either we get on board with what's real, or we'll be kicked off.
So when you say, and you just said, you may not like it. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to pose the question here. And this is directed to who you are. You like the truth. You like hearing the truth. You love the truth. The part of us that is rubbed the wrong way or doesn't like
Isn't us.
is not us. It's the programmed sense of self that has been promulgated on this planet for so long.
And not just like the last 50 or
Thousands
100
of-
years.
yeah,
thousands
thousands of
upon
years.
thousands upon thousands of years of keeping us identified with the lower three chakras of consciousness.
Making you think and making me think that who I am is my body, my mind, my emotions, all of that. None of those things are me. Those are facilities for my being here. And instead of those facilities being in charge of me, I'm working on being in charge of my facilities so that I can be the being that I am while I'm here, bringing the truth and not pandering to any nonsense in myself first.
Yeah. It's like all of consciousness, rightly, is like the surface of this planet. You've got the star. It's emitting this unconditional love, unconditionally radiating love, regardless of the antics that's going on the surface of this planet, radiating this unconditional love. And the plants and the trees, the grasses and the birds and the humans, we all depend upon that light. And the plants and the animals are unconditionally responsive to the light. In human consciousness, we have a lot of our consciousness which has been turned away from the light. And the light really isn't external. The light is who you are.
Yeah.
And our consciousness needs to be transmuted. And that transmutation, another word for it is a flip in polarity. All of our substance of our consciousness needs to be turned to face the light that we are. And that's work. And until that happens, we have not much to say to the world beyond us. And the more that we allow to really be truly changed in our own consciousness, the more the light shines and the more we have to offer to the world. That's real. Not no made up stuff, no airy-fairy woo-woo stuff. I know I keep saying woo-woo,
Well,
but it's
that's,
true.
That's what it comes across like to me.
Yeah.
When I do it especially, it's like I can't stand it. It makes me nauseous instantly.
Yeah.
When I start playing games, I start beating around the bush and my ego takes over and my ego starts saying things that it doesn't know. Starts making shit up. And that's really irritating. It's like,
Yeah.
I think you guys, I'll say this for me, I can't say something if I don't know it. You know, if I'm starting to spout all kinds of stuff and I don't really know it, I should shut up.
Yep. Yep. So this particular video, then, we're getting down to it, and we're not interested in pandering to people's wants or likes or dislikes or...
That's like, yeah, so if you don't like this, shut it off.
Yeah. So basically, if what we say is rubbing you the wrong way, I'd challenge you to be willing to take a look at it and really challenge to see if, am I identified with something that needs to pass away? Am I identified with something that's not me, really? Or am I stuck in a structure of consciousness, like identity, a false identity? Our false identity, our egos, they're nothing more than a construct of certain feelings and thoughts and beliefs and wants and desires based out of the lower three chakras.
Yep.
And so if it's all in the lower three chakras, we're trying to jam our whole experience into the lower three chakras. I've got to find my fulfillment in the lower three chakras, all my fulfillment. And if in some way we have a life pattern that we're living that we think brings us some measure of pleasure, like sexual pleasure, and all of a sudden you find out one day that, hey, that what you're doing isn't really real.
Well, that's,
You might feel threatened by that because you're identified with that pattern of thinking and living, and think that you are being attacked, when in fact it's not you being attacked or challenged, it's your state of consciousness and your beliefs about what reality is.
Yep.
And the fallen state, which is what's present on this planet right now, has been around for so long. The conditioning in the subconscious is so extreme that most of what's going on here is nonsense, and what we believe and what we think is nonsense.
it's not
And
even
what-
close to the truth.
not even close to the truth. And so there has to be a profound willingness to be willing to change profoundly at the core of oneself, to change whatever needs to be changed, whatever orientation or belief I have about how things work.
That's the truth. What he said is the truth. And we're going to find that out because things are changing on the planet. And this situation is to the ego. And I'll bet you've had this experience. You'll feel like imposed upon by life. Like, this is too hard. This is unfair.
It's not an imposition.
It's not an imposition. It's not unfair. What's being introduced is the truth.
And that's where your actual real fulfillment will be, is in that. There's no fulfillment, there's no true happiness outside of the true design of creation.
Right.
It's an illusion. And people have been living outside of that design, trying to be happy, trying to find fulfillment, and never finding it. And there'll be those who say, oh, yes, I found fulfillment, I'm happy. I'll challenge you. No, you're not. You don't really know. And it's rationalized over and over and over. And there's no fulfillment outside of the true design of life.
I agree with that. And what's emerging on the planet right now? Let's get real. It's not going to be a spiritual party, man. Spiritual party. All the fun stuff gets to start now.
Yeah,
It's like, hey, come on. We got to get honest about this. It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
There's no way around it.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard. Now, there are going to be times where it's going to be like, wow, this is amazing. This is real. It's really happening. And then there's going to be the other time where my ego is going to be feeling like getting beat down. And it's like, okay, the ego's getting beat down. We got to deal with it. And it really doesn't matter what your ego thinks anyway.
Yeah. So it's basically, the more quickly you can get your capacity to go along with this whole process, the better. Because
Yeah.
if you don't, it'll grind you into a powder. It'll
Not you, the
not-
ego.
Yeah, your ego, your body. It'll actually
Well,
eventually kill the body. It will.
Yeah.
And that's what actually I think death is actually ultimately. Things are so resistant in this world and have been designed in that way, has been held in that design for so long, so much resistance, that eventually life just grinds the body into a powder.
Yeah. Oh, and then you might be asking a question, because I wouldn't be surprised. Well, who did that design? Who's imposing that? Well,